What if I told you there are places on Earth that should not exist, and yet somehow they're real? Entire cities buried beneath the earth, ancient tombs sealed for thousands of years, and ruins so mysterious, even experts still can't fully explain them. You'll see underground chambers hidden beneath pyramids, ancient massacres frozen in time, glowing Viking graves deep in the forests of Sweden, giant temples older than recorded civilization, and lost cities swallowed by volcanic ash, desert sand and silence. Because the deeper archaeologists dig beneath the earth, the stranger the past begins to feel. And maybe human history is far older and far more mysterious than we were ever told. Before we begin, hit subscribe for 7 years of good luck. And wherever you're watching from tonight, tell me your country and what time it is there right now down below in the comments. Now turn down the lights, get comfortable. The skeleton with the golden tongue. Deep beneath the sands of Egypt, inside a forgotten ancient tomb near the Mediterranean coast, archaeologists uncovered something that immediately disturbed everyone who saw it. A human skeleton lying silently inside a sealed burial chamber, its body wrapped in the remains of ancient ritual, its face frozen in death for nearly 2,000 years, and inside its mouth, a small object made entirely of gold, a golden tongue. The discovery came from the ruins of Taposiris Magna, and even today, nobody fully knows why ancient Egyptians placed gold tongues inside the mouths of the dead. Taposiris Magna lies west of Alexandria near the Mediterranean Sea. The ancient city once stood between Egyptian and Greco-Roman worlds during one of the most mysterious periods in Egyptian history. The landscape there feels isolated. Ruined temples rise from the desert beneath endless heat and wind. Collapsed chambers disappear beneath the earth, and beneath the ruins, countless tombs remained hidden for centuries. Then archaeologists began excavating the site more deeply. What they discovered shocked the world. Inside several burial chambers, skeletons appeared with small golden amulets shaped like tongues placed inside their mouths. The objects were delicate but unmistakable. Thin pieces of gold positioned exactly where the tongue once rested. The image itself felt haunting immediately. A dead face preserved in silence for centuries, with gold placed inside the mouth before burial. Researchers quickly searched ancient Egyptian beliefs for answers, and one explanation emerged. In Egyptian mythology, the dead were believed to journey into the afterlife where they would stand before powerful gods and face judgment. Speech carried enormous spiritual importance. The soul needed to speak, answer questions, and communicate during its passage into the next world. Some archaeologists believe the golden tongue may have symbolically allowed the dead to speak to Osiris, god of the underworld. Gold itself held sacred meaning in ancient Egypt. It was associated with immortality, divinity, and eternal life. Unlike ordinary metal, gold did not tarnish or decay. To ancient Egyptians, it represented something eternal beyond death itself, and so, placing a golden tongue inside the mouth of the deceased may have symbolized giving the soul an eternal voice in the afterlife. But emotionally, the discovery still feels deeply unsettling. Because the ritual appears so strangely intimate, someone carefully placing gold inside the mouth of the dead before sealing the tomb, preparing them for conversations beyond death itself. The atmosphere surrounding Taposiris Magna deepens the mystery enormously. The city already carried legends for centuries. Some researchers even believe the region may contain the lost tomb of Cleopatra herself, hidden somewhere beneath the ruins. Ancient temples dedicated to Osiris and Isis once stood there. Religious rituals unfolded beside the sea under torchlight and ceremony. And beneath the earth, generations of burials slowly filled the necropolis surrounding the ancient city. The tombs themselves feel eerie. Dark underground chambers hidden beneath layers of stone and sand. Ancient skeletons resting exactly where mourners left them nearly 2,000 years ago. And among them, faces holding small golden tongues inside silent mouths. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the ritual connected to secret Egyptian knowledge about resurrection and immortality. Others imagined priests attempting to preserve consciousness after death through sacred ceremonies. A few even claimed the gold tongues represented hidden initiations into forbidden mysteries connected to the afterlife. Most historians reject the more extreme theories completely, yet even mainstream archaeology admits the symbolism remains fascinating and partly mysterious. The practice was unusual enough that every discovery immediately attracted global attention, because unlike ordinary burial artifacts, the golden tongue creates a powerful emotional image modern people instantly remember, a voice prepared for eternity. The discovery also reminds the modern world how deeply ancient Egyptians focused on death and the afterlife. Entire civilizations across history feared death, but ancient Egypt transformed death into something structured, ritualized, and cosmic. Mummification, burial texts, sacred objects, tombs designed as eternal homes, every detail carefully prepared for the soul's journey beyond the physical world, and the golden tongue may have been one more part of that enormous spiritual system. Perhaps what makes the discovery so haunting is not simply the object itself, but the realization that ancient people truly believed the dead still needed a voice after death. Not metaphorically, literally, a soul preparing to speak in another world hidden beyond human sight. Even today, excavations continue at Taposiris Magna. New tombs and chambers still emerge from beneath the sands. Archaeologists continue searching for clues about the city's lost history and the strange rituals practiced there centuries ago. And somewhere beneath the ruins near the Mediterranean coast, the silent skeletons with golden tongues still rest in darkness exactly where ancient hands prepared them for eternity long ago. The city that burns from below. High in the mountains of southern Turkey, hidden among rocky hills and ancient ruins, there is a place where fire rises directly from the earth. Flames burn endlessly between the stones. Small fires emerge from cracks in the mountainside day and night. Even during rain, the flames continue burning, and for thousands of years, people standing before them believed the mountain itself was alive. The place is known as Yanatash, sometimes called the eternal flames of Chimera, and even today, nobody forgets the first time they see fire coming from the ground itself. Yanatash lies near the Mediterranean coast of Turkey, close to the ancient ruins of Olympos. The surrounding landscape feels ancient immediately. Steep rocky hills rise above forests beneath endless skies. At night, darkness covers the mountains except for strange orange flames flickering between the stones. From a distance, the fire almost appears supernatural, as though something beneath the mountain is breathing through the earth itself. The flames have burned there for thousands of years, long before modern civilization reached the region. Ancient sailors crossing the Mediterranean reportedly saw the fires glowing from the coastline during the night. To people in the ancient world, the mountain must have felt terrifying, a place where fire emerged endlessly from solid rock without wood or fuel visible anywhere. Naturally, legends followed. The most famous story came from Greek mythology. According to the legend, a monstrous creature called the Chimera once terrorized the land, part lion, part goat, part serpent, a beast capable of breathing fire. After the creature was finally defeated by the hero Bellerophon, ancient people believed its fiery breath still escaped from beneath the mountain. The eternal flames became connected permanently to the myth, and standing there at night, the story almost feels believable emotionally. Fire flickers silently from cracks in the earth beneath dark mountain skies. The atmosphere feels ancient beyond words. Modern science offers a different explanation. Deep beneath the mountain, natural methane and other gases escape through cracks in the rock. When the gas reaches the surface, it ignites and burns continuously. The geological conditions of the region allow the flames to survive naturally for extremely long periods. In other words, the mountain truly is burning from below, just not because of monsters. Yet even with scientific explanations, Yanatash still feels deeply mysterious, especially at night. The fires emerge unexpectedly between stones across the hillside, some flames small and quiet, others larger and stronger depending on gas pressure beneath the earth. And because there are no visible fuel sources, the human mind instinctively reacts strangely to the sight. Fire without wood, flames without explanation visible on the surface. The emotional effect feels primal. The ancient ruins nearby deepen the atmosphere enormously. The region around Olympos once formed part of the ancient Lycian civilization, before later Greek and Roman influence transformed the coast. Temples, tombs, and forgotten stone ruins still remain scattered through the forests beneath the mountains. Some historians believe ancient religious rituals may once have been connected to the eternal flames themselves, because in many ancient cultures, natural fire carried sacred meaning. A flame that never dies would have appeared divine, possibly a doorway between worlds. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed hidden volcanic forces deep beneath the mountain connected the flames to lost underground civilizations. Others imagined secret chambers and tunnels beneath Yanatash, where ancient priests performed rituals beside the eternal fire. A few even claimed the flames proved unknown energies existed beneath the earth beyond modern understanding. Most historians and scientists reject those ideas completely. Yet even mainstream geology admits the phenomenon remains extraordinary. Natural eternal flames are rare, and Yanatash may have burned continuously for thousands of years without stopping. The atmosphere there changes completely after sunset. Tourists climb the rocky trail carrying lanterns and flashlights into the darkness. Then slowly, the flames begin appearing between the stones, one by one, orange light flickering against black rock, wind moving softly through the mountains, and beyond the fire, complete silence. Perhaps that is what makes Yanatash feel so haunting, not because it hides supernatural secrets, but because it reminds modern people how ancient humans experienced the natural world emotionally. Before geology, before chemistry, before scientific explanation. A mountain breathing fire into the night would have felt alive, sacred, dangerous, a place where gods or monsters touch the earth directly, and maybe somewhere deep beneath the mountains of Turkey. The earth still whispers through flame exactly as it did thousands of years ago, while ancient sailors watched the fires burning from the dark Mediterranean coast below. The underground city no one expected to find. Beneath an ordinary neighbourhood in Turkey, hidden below homes, streets and modern buildings, workers made a discovery so shocking that it completely changed what historians believed about the ancient world underground. A wall collapsed during renovation work. Behind it, there was darkness, then tunnels, then hidden chambers stretching deeper beneath the earth. And as explorers moved further underground, they realized they had uncovered an entire lost city buried beneath the surface for centuries. The place is known as the Nevşehir underground city, and even today, much of it still remains unexplored. The discovery happened in the Cappadocia region of central Turkey, a landscape famous for strange volcanic rock formations shaped by wind and time into towering stone pillars and cliffs. The soft volcanic rock of the region allowed ancient people to carve directly into the earth itself. Homes, churches, storage rooms, entire underground worlds hidden beneath the surface. But nobody expected to find something this enormous. When workers accidentally opened hidden passages beneath a house, archaeologists soon uncovered tunnels extending far beyond anything imagined. The underground complex stretched through multiple levels beneath the city itself. Hidden chambers, ventilation shafts, secret passageways, water systems, living quarters, entire underground neighbourhoods buried beneath the modern world above. The scale felt unbelievable immediately. Historians estimated the underground city may have sheltered thousands of people at once, and because large sections remained sealed or unstable, researchers suspected the hidden complex could be even larger than first discovered. The atmosphere underground feels unlike anywhere else. Cool air moves softly through narrow tunnels beneath the earth. Stone absorbs sound until silence becomes overwhelming. Some corridors are so tight only one person can pass at a time. Others suddenly open into giant underground rooms hidden completely from the surface world. The deeper explorers descended, the stranger the city became. Massive circular stone doors blocked passageways from within, some weighing hundreds of pounds. Ancient people could roll them into place, sealing entire tunnels during danger. Small holes in the centre allowed defenders to observe or attack intruders while remaining protected behind solid stone. The city was clearly built for survival, not temporary shelter. A hidden underground civilization designed to disappear beneath the earth when necessary. Historians believe the underground networks of Cappadocia expanded gradually across centuries during periods of invasion, conflict, and religious persecution. Entire populations could retreat underground while danger moved across the surface world above, and the newly discovered Nevşehir complex may have connected to larger hidden systems stretching beneath the region itself. That realization stunned archaeologists, because it suggested ancient Cappadocia contained underground worlds far larger than previously understood. The discovery also revealed extraordinary engineering. Ventilation shafts carried fresh air deep underground. Without them, survival would have been impossible. Some shafts extended dozens of meters toward the surface. Ancient builders understood airflow, structure, and underground planning with remarkable sophistication long before modern technology. Even today, parts of the underground city remain surprisingly breathable, despite descending far below ground level. The emotional impact feels haunting, especially imagining entire communities living beneath the earth in silence. Families sleeping underground, lit only by oil lamps. Children growing up inside tunnels hidden from the outside world. Entire civilizations surviving invisibly beneath ordinary landscapes. The atmosphere deepens further because much of the city still remains uncertain. Collapsed tunnels block some areas. Hidden chambers may still exist beyond sealed sections. And because the underground networks beneath Cappadocia are so enormous, researchers continue uncovering new passages and forgotten rooms even now. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believe the underground city was built to survive an ancient global catastrophe long before recorded history. Others imagined lost civilizations hiding beneath the earth after wars or disasters destroyed the surface world. A few even claim the tunnels connected to vast subterranean networks stretching across continents beneath humanity itself. Most historians reject those ideas completely. Yet even mainstream archaeology admits the scale of Cappadocia's underground world remains astonishing. The newly discovered Nevşehir complex revealed how much still remains hidden beneath the region, and perhaps that is the deeper mystery. Modern people often assume the world has already been fully explored, yet entire underground cities can still remain hidden beneath ordinary neighborhoods for centuries unnoticed. Worlds beneath worlds, civilizations buried beneath modern life itself. Perhaps that is why the discovery feels so unsettling emotionally. The idea that beneath quiet streets and houses, hidden tunnels may still stretch through darkness below. Ancient chambers sealed for generations beneath the earth, waiting accidentally to be opened again. Even today, excavation and research continue beneath Nevşehir. Large sections remain inaccessible or only partially mapped, and somewhere beneath the streets of central Turkey, the hidden underground city still stretches through darkness, exactly where ancient builders carved it long ago, silent beneath the modern world above, the monolith that shifts on its own. Deep in the frozen wilderness of Siberia, far beyond roads, cities, and ordinary human life, there stands a giant stone monolith surrounded by mystery, a massive pillar rising alone from the earth beneath endless skies, covered in ice for much of the year, hidden among forests, mountains, and some of the coldest landscapes on Earth. And according to local stories, the stone does something impossible. It moves, not quickly, not dramatically, but slowly, silently, changing position over time as though the monolith itself is alive. The place lies in Yakutia, one of the coldest inhabited regions on Earth. And even today, the strange monolith continues fueling legends across the Siberian wilderness. Yakutia, also known as the Sakha Republic, stretches across enormous sections of northeastern Siberia. The environment feels almost alien. Temperatures can fall below minus 50 degrees Celsius during winter. Rivers freeze solid for months. Forests extend endlessly beneath snow and silence, and scattered across the landscape. Strange rock formations emerge unexpectedly from the frozen earth. Some appear natural, others almost seem deliberately placed. The monolith at the centre of local legend rises from one of these remote regions. Descriptions vary depending on the story. Some describe a tall, standing stone emerging alone from the tundra. Others speak of a giant dark pillar hidden among mountains and permafrost. But nearly every version of the legend contains the same unsettling detail. The stone does not remain exactly where it should. Hunters and travellers claimed its position slowly changes over the years, not enough to notice immediately, but enough that people returning decades later believed the monolith had shifted across the landscape somehow. In such isolated regions, stories spread easily, especially during long winters beneath endless darkness and silence. Local folklore across Siberia already contains countless legends connected to sacred stones, spirits, and ancient forces hidden within nature itself. The land feels ancient there, untouched, a place where ordinary logic sometimes seems smaller against the scale of wilderness surrounding everything. Modern science offers more grounded possibilities. Permafrost landscapes can shift gradually over time due to freezing, thawing, erosion, and geological movement. Massive stones may tilt, sink, or appear displaced, as the earth beneath them changes slowly across decades. Optical illusion and memory also play powerful roles in remote environments where landmarks appear differently during changing seasons. But emotionally, the mystery survives because the setting itself feels unreal. A giant stone alone in the Siberian wilderness beneath endless snow and silence. The atmosphere surrounding Yakutia deepens the legend enormously. Winter dominates the region for much of the year. Snow absorbs sound until entire landscapes feel silent beyond comprehension. Fog drifts across frozen forests, mountains disappear into white horizons, and during the long polar nights, darkness stretches endlessly across the wilderness. In such places, even ordinary objects begin feeling strange. A solitary monolith standing motionless among the frozen earth naturally becomes something more in human imagination, especially when generations pass stories about it quietly between villages and camps. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the monolith marked an ancient sacred site older than recorded history. Others imagined prehistoric civilizations once travelling through Siberia long before modern humanity fully understood the region. A few even claimed the stone possessed unknown magnetic or geological properties capable of affecting the surrounding landscape itself. More extreme theories connected it to extraterrestrials because isolated monoliths in remote regions always seem to attract cosmic speculation. Most researchers reject those ideas completely. Yet even mainstream geology acknowledges that permafrost landscapes behave in unusual ways. The ground itself moves, expands, collapses, and reshapes slowly over time beneath extreme temperature cycles. Entire forests can tilt. Lakes disappear. Ancient objects buried in ice emerge unexpectedly centuries later. Siberia often feels less stable than ordinary landscapes, and perhaps that uncertainty gives the legend emotional power, because the monolith represents something ancient surviving inside one of the harshest environments on Earth. A silent stone standing through storms, freezing darkness, and centuries of isolation while human beings come and go around it. The idea that it shifts slowly almost feels symbolic, as though the wilderness itself refuses to remain fixed. Perhaps that is what makes the Yakutia monolith so haunting. Not because it literally walks across the tundra, but because isolated places change human perception deeply. In extreme silence and endless wilderness, ordinary reality begins feeling less certain. A stone becomes a mystery, a shadow becomes a legend, and stories grow stronger than explanation itself. Even today, vast parts of Siberia remain barely explored compared to the scale of the land itself. Remote mountains, forests, and frozen valleys still hide places few humans ever see. And somewhere within the endless wilderness of Yakutia, the silent monolith still stands beneath snow and ice, exactly where generations claimed it slowly moved through the frozen earth, waiting quietly beneath the coldest skies on Earth. The stone map with no known origin. In Russia, hidden behind one of the strangest archaeological discoveries ever reported, there exists a giant stone slab covered with markings so unusual that some people believed it could not have been made by any known ancient civilization. Lines crossing the surface like massive pathways, raised sections resembling terrain, shapes that almost appear engineered rather than natural. And according to the most controversial theories, the stone may represent an ancient three-dimensional map created thousands of years before modern cartography existed. The object became known as the Dashka stone, and ever since its discovery, it has remained one of the most debated mysteries connected to lost ancient knowledge. The story begins in the Bashkortostan region of Russia near the Ural Mountains. The landscape there feels ancient and isolated. Forests stretch endlessly across hills and rivers. Snow covers the region for long periods each year, and beneath the earth, layers of geological history reach back millions of years. In the late 20th century, researchers reportedly uncovered a massive stone slab unlike anything expected. The object weighed several tons. Its surface appeared carved or shaped with strange patterns and relief formations, and some investigators claimed the markings resembled a detailed topographic map viewed from above. That alone would have been extraordinary. But then came the controversial interpretation. Certain researchers argued the stone represented a highly advanced map of the Ural region, complete with rivers, terrain features, and what appeared to be artificial channels or engineered structures. Some even claimed the precision seemed too advanced for ancient civilizations officially known to historians. The theories escalated rapidly. According to the most extreme claims, the Dashka stone could be tens of millions of years old, far older than humanity itself. If true, the implications would be impossible. A map created before human civilization even existed. Naturally, the story exploded across documentaries, mystery books, and the internet. Some people believe the stone proved the existence of forgotten advanced civilizations erased from history entirely. Others connected it to Atlantis or prehistoric global cultures destroyed by catastrophe long before recorded memory survived. A few even claimed extraterrestrials created the map because no known ancient society should have possessed aerial geographic knowledge on that scale. Mainstream scientists and archaeologists strongly challenged those interpretations. Many researchers questioned the dating claims, the analysis methods, and whether the markings truly represented an artificial map at all. Critics argued the patterns could result partly from natural geological formations combined with human interpretation, searching for recognizable shapes. The debate became deeply controversial, and over time, reliable information surrounding the Dashka stone became increasingly difficult to separate from exaggeration and myth. Yet despite skepticism, the emotional power of the story survived, because the idea itself feels haunting. A giant stone map appearing from the earth with no clear origin, knowledge seemingly disconnected from accepted human history. The atmosphere surrounding the mystery deepens because of the object's appearance. Photographs of the stone show strange raised formations and intersecting lines across its surface. Viewed from certain angles, the slab genuinely resembles terrain mapping. Human beings naturally search for patterns, especially patterns suggesting intelligence and design, and when those patterns appear ancient or unexplained, imagination quickly fills the gaps. The Dashka stone also touches something deeper psychologically, the fear that human history may be incomplete, that entire civilizations, discoveries, or knowledge systems could disappear across immense stretches of time, leaving only fragments behind. A single stone, a buried structure, a forgotten symbol surviving beyond memory itself. Over time, stranger theories inevitably multiplied. Some people believed the stone encoded hidden geographical knowledge from a prehistoric civilization destroyed during an ancient global flood. Others imagined it functioned as part of a lost navigation system used before recorded history. A few even claimed the map depicted Earth differently because it originated from another era entirely, when geography itself changed. Most historians and geologists reject those ideas completely. There is no accepted evidence proving the stone originated from an unknown advanced civilization. Yet even skeptics acknowledge the story became one of the modern world's most persistent archaeological mysteries, partly because uncertainty still surrounds aspects of the discovery itself. And perhaps that uncertainty is exactly why the legend survives. The Dashka stone exists in the strange space between archaeology, speculation, and myth. A mysterious object people desperately want to mean something larger. Perhaps because modern civilization feels uncomfortable believing the past is fully understood. Even today, debates continue online about the stone's true nature and origin. Some researchers dismiss it entirely. Others remain fascinated by the unanswered questions surrounding it. And somewhere in Russia, the strange stone slab known as the Dashka stone still exists beneath layers of controversy, speculation, and mystery. Silent like a fragment from a forgotten world nobody can fully explain. The giant handprint pressed into stone. High in the mountains of Bolivia, among windswept cliffs and ancient rock formations, there is a mark in stone so strange that generations of people refuse to believe it could have been made by ordinary human hands. A gigantic imprint pressed into solid rock. 5 enormous finger-like shapes visible against the cliff surface, and surrounding it, silence stretching across one of the most ancient landscapes in South America. Some people believed it was proof giants once walked the earth. Others claimed it marked the touch of gods. And even today, nobody fully agrees how the strange formation truly appeared. The mystery became known simply as the giant handprint of Bolivia, and standing before it, the image feels deeply unsettling. The formation lies within the rugged highlands of Bolivia near remote ancient landscapes already filled with mystery. The Andes dominate the region. Towering mountains rise beneath enormous skies. Wind moves endlessly across dry cliffs and valleys, and scattered throughout the terrain, strange rock formations emerge from the earth shaped by time, weather, and geology across unimaginable ages. But among those formations, one shape immediately captures attention. A giant hand-like impression pressed directly into stone. The resemblance feels uncanny. 5 extended sections resembling fingers, a broad central palm shape, even proportions strangely similar to a human hand, except vastly larger. Photographs spread quickly online and through documentaries, and naturally, theories exploded almost immediately. Some people believed the mark represented fossilized evidence of enormous prehistoric humans lost from history entirely. Others connected it to ancient legends about giants appearing across cultures worldwide. A few even claimed extraterrestrials or unknown civilizations created the imprint deliberately for reasons nobody understood. Mainstream geologists offered more grounded explanations. Natural erosion can produce surprisingly recognizable shapes in rock over long periods of time. Human brains instinctively search for familiar patterns within randomness, especially faces, figures, and hands. This phenomenon, called pareidolia, explains why people often see meaningful images in clouds, mountains, or stone formations. According to scientists, the Bolivian handprint likely formed through natural geological processes combined with human perception, recognizing a hand-like shape. Yet, emotionally, the mystery survived, because the formation genuinely feels strange when viewed directly, especially in the isolated Andean landscape surrounding it. The atmosphere deepens the mystery enormously. The high-altitude silence of Bolivia carries a feeling difficult to describe. The air feels thin, the land ancient beyond memory, and many regions remain sparsely populated even today. Ancient cultures across the Andes often viewed mountains and unusual rock formations as sacred places connected to spirits, gods, or cosmic forces. The landscape itself carried meaning, and when natural formations resembled human shapes, those places often became legendary. The giant handprint fit perfectly into that tradition, a mark in stone appearing almost deliberate against the cliffs. Over time, local stories surrounding the formation multiplied. Some believed the hand belonged to a giant creature buried beneath the mountains long ago. Others imagined ancient gods pressing their hands against the earth during creation myths now forgotten. A few claimed the imprint shifted subtly, depending on sunlight and weather, making the shape appear more human during certain hours of the day. Most researchers reject those ideas completely, yet even skeptics admit the psychological effect of the formation feels unusually powerful. Human beings respond emotionally to giant versions of familiar things, especially hands. A handprint suggests presence, touch, a living being leaving evidence behind. And when that image appears enormous and ancient carved into stone, imagination naturally expands beyond logic. The mystery also connects to something deeper within human history itself. Nearly every ancient culture carried legends about giants, massive beings existing before ordinary humanity. From Greek Titans to biblical Nephilim to Andean myths across South America, the stories appear again and again across civilizations separated by oceans and centuries. Most historians view those legends symbolically or mythologically, but strange formations like the Bolivian handprint keep the old stories emotionally alive. Because standing before it, part of the human mind still whispers the same ancient question: what if? The surrounding Andes deepen that feeling enormously. South America already contains some of the world's greatest archaeological mysteries: megalithic ruins, ancient stone cities, unexplained carvings, civilizations rising and disappearing across mountain landscapes for thousands of years. The giant handprint feels like another fragment from that ancient world, A mark in stone nobody fully forgets after seeing it. Perhaps that is what makes the formation so haunting, not because it proves giants existed, but because it reveals how powerfully human beings connect meaning to ancient landscapes. A shape in stone becomes a legend, a cliff becomes evidence of forgotten worlds, and mystery survives far longer than certainty ever does. Even today, travellers visiting remote parts of Bolivia still search for the giant handprint hidden among the cliffs and mountains, and somewhere high within the ancient Andes, the enormous mark still remains pressed into stone exactly where generations believed something gigantic once touched the earth long ago. The Viking grave that glows at night. Deep within the forests of Sweden, beneath cold skies and endless silence, there is an ancient Viking grave surrounded by a legend so strange that locals avoided the area after dark for generations. A burial mound hidden among trees, ancient stones rising from the earth, and according to stories passed quietly through nearby villages. Strange lights sometimes appear above the grave during the night, soft glowing shapes moving through the darkness, blue flames flickering near the ground, mist illuminated from within before vanishing completely into the forest. The place became known as the glowing Viking grave, and even today, nobody fully agrees what people truly saw there. The legend comes from rural regions of Sweden where Viking burial mounds still remain scattered across forests, hills, and ancient landscapes. Thousands of years ago, Viking communities buried important warriors, rulers, and families beneath large earthen mounds often filled with weapons, jewellery, ships, and ritual offerings. To ancient Norse people, burial sites carried enormous spiritual significance. The dead were not entirely gone. Their presence remained connected to the land itself, and certain graves became feared places surrounded by warnings and folklore long after the Viking Age ended. The glowing grave was said to lie deep within forested land far from major settlements. Descriptions varied depending on the story. Some people described a large burial mound surrounded by standing stones. Others spoke of an ancient ship burial hidden beneath the earth, but nearly every version contained the same unsettling detail: light. Travellers crossing nearby forests at night claimed strange glowing forms appeared around the mound after sunset, sometimes blue, sometimes pale white, sometimes flickering like small flames moving above the ground. The lights reportedly vanished when approached directly. For centuries, people connected such lights to ancient spirits guarding treasure hidden beneath Viking graves. Old Scandinavian folklore carried many stories about burial mounds glowing at night. The phenomenon even had names in Norse tradition. Some legends described ghostly fire marking places where powerful dead still guarded their possessions underground. Others believed the lights represented restless spirits unable to leave the world completely. To ancient communities living beside dark forests and burial sites, the stories felt very real. Modern science offers more grounded possibilities. Natural swamp gases can sometimes ignite or create strange glowing effects under certain conditions. Bioluminescent organisms, atmospheric reflections, or optical illusions caused by fog and moonlight may also explain some sightings. In cold Nordic landscapes, light behaves strangely through mist and snow at night. But emotionally, the legend survived because of the setting itself. Swedish forests already feel ancient beyond words. Tall pine trees absorb sound until entire landscapes fall silent. Fog drifts between trunks beneath pale moonlight, and hidden among the wilderness, Viking burial mounds still rise quietly from the earth, exactly where ancient people built them over 1,000 years ago. The atmosphere alone changes human perception, especially after dark. Standing near an ancient grave in the forest at night naturally awakens something primal in the human mind. The sense that the dead still remain nearby somehow, that old places remember. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed hidden Viking treasure buried beneath certain graves released strange energy into the surrounding land. Others imagined ancient Norse rituals left supernatural forces connected permanently to burial sites. A few even claimed the glowing lights were connected to portals between worlds described in forgotten Scandinavian myths. Most historians reject those ideas completely, yet even mainstream folklorists acknowledge glowing grave legends appeared repeatedly throughout northern Europe for centuries. The stories became deeply woven into Viking folklore and local tradition, and perhaps that repetition reveals something important. Ancient burial sites affect human imagination powerfully, especially in isolated landscapes where darkness, silence, and history combine together. The Vikings themselves viewed death very differently from the modern world. Warriors believed they could continue into Valhalla or other realms after death. Burial mounds often contained objects needed beyond life itself: weapons, food, jewellery, ships for the journey onward. The grave was not viewed as an ending completely, but as a doorway. Perhaps that is why stories about glowing Viking graves survived so long, because ancient people already believed powerful dead remained connected to the world after burial. A strange light above the mound naturally became proof of that belief continuing beyond death. Even today, Sweden still contains thousands of ancient Viking burial sites hidden among forests and countryside. Many remain quiet and isolated far from modern cities, and somewhere beneath the cold northern skies, the ancient grave said to glow at night still rests silently among the trees, exactly where generations believed mysterious lights once moved through the darkness above the dead. The unplundered royal tomb, deep beneath the hills of Eastern Europe, hidden under layers of earth and silence, archaeologists uncovered something almost impossible. A royal tomb untouched by thieves, a burial chamber sealed for thousands of years. No broken entrance, no missing treasure, no signs of the ancient robbers ever reaching the dead inside. And when researchers finally entered the chamber, they stepped directly into a forgotten world preserved exactly as it had been left in antiquity. The discovery immediately stunned historians, because truly untouched royal tombs are extraordinarily rare. Across history, most ancient graves were eventually looted, damaged, or destroyed. Gold disappeared, artifacts vanished. The dead were disturbed by centuries of invasion, war, and greed. But this tomb remained hidden, waiting beneath the earth in complete darkness, while entire civilizations rose and vanished above it. The burial site lay somewhere within the ancient landscapes of Eastern Europe, regions already filled with forgotten kingdoms, burial mounds, and mysterious prehistoric cultures stretching back thousands of years. The land itself feels ancient. Dense forests cover rolling hills. Fog drifts across valleys beneath cold skies, and beneath fields and mountains, countless tombs still remain buried beneath the earth even now. The royal chamber was discovered during archaeological excavation, after subtle signs beneath the surface suggested something hidden below. At first, researchers expected another damaged burial site, perhaps partially collapsed, perhaps looted long ago like so many others. But as excavations continued, something strange became clear. The entrance remained sealed, completely intact. No evidence of intrusion, no tunnel cut by grave robbers, nothing. For archaeologists, that realization alone creates enormous tension, because untouched tombs preserve moments of history frozen in time. A sealed chamber becomes a direct connection to the ancient world exactly as it once existed. When the entrance was finally opened, the atmosphere inside felt overwhelming. Air sealed away for centuries escaped slowly from the darkness. Torchlight revealed ancient objects resting exactly where mourners left them long ago. Weapons, jewellery, ceremonial artefacts, fragments of cloth and ritual, and at the centre, the remains of royalty buried with extraordinary care. The emotional effect of entering such a place feels difficult to describe because nothing had moved. No human eyes had seen the chamber since the burial itself thousands of years earlier. The silence inside felt almost sacred. Researchers suddenly stood face to face with an untouched ancient world. The treasures themselves deepened the mystery enormously. Gold ornaments reflected light beneath the chamber walls. Decorated weapons rested beside the dead. Symbols and carvings hinted at beliefs modern historians only partially understand. Every object carried clues about forgotten civilizations of Eastern Europe, cultures often overshadowed by more famous ancient empires elsewhere. Yet many of those civilizations possessed extraordinary craftsmanship and complex spiritual traditions of their own. The burial rituals revealed deep beliefs about death and the afterlife. Ancient people carefully prepared rulers for journeys beyond life. Objects placed beside the body were not random wealth. They carried symbolic meaning, protection, power, status, memory. Some tombs even included food, animals or ceremonial offerings intended for the next world, and because this chamber remained untouched, archaeologists could study the burial exactly as ancient mourners arranged it. That preservation became priceless historically. The atmosphere surrounding the discovery spread rapidly across the world. News headlines described lost treasure and untouched royalty beneath Eastern Europe. Naturally, stranger theories soon followed. Some people believed the tomb belonged to a forgotten king erased deliberately from history. Others imagined hidden chambers still sealed deeper underground beyond the known burial. A few even claimed curses protected the tomb from robbers for centuries because of ancient rituals performed during burial. Most historians reject those ideas completely, yet even mainstream archaeology admits untouched royal tombs create unusual emotional reactions, because they preserve human presence so directly, not ruins rebuilt later, not scattered fragments, but a complete ancient moment surviving intact across thousands of years. The burial chamber also carried another haunting truth. The ruler buried there once commanded power, wealth, and ceremony beyond imagination. Entire communities mourned their death. Workers built underground chambers to preserve their memory forever, and yet eventually, the civilization itself disappeared. Its language faded, its cities collapsed, its people vanished into history. Only the tomb survived beneath the earth, waiting silently for strangers from another age to open it again. Perhaps that is what makes untouched tombs feel so unsettling. They reveal how fragile human civilization truly is. Empires believe themselves eternal. Kings build monuments for immortality. Yet eventually, all of it becomes silence underground. A sealed room hidden beneath forgotten hills. Even today, archaeologists continue uncovering ancient tombs throughout Eastern Europe. Many still remain buried beneath forests and fields, untouched for thousands of years. And somewhere beneath the cold earth of Europe, the unplundered royal tomb still rests in darkness exactly where ancient mourners sealed it long ago, preserving a forgotten kingdom beyond the reach of time itself. Underground chambers beneath the Black Pyramid. South of Cairo, hidden deep within the desert sands of Darsha, there stands a pyramid darker, stranger, and far more unsettling than the famous monuments of Giza. Its sides rise at unusual angles beneath the burning Egyptian sun. Large sections appear collapsed and damaged by time, and buried far beneath the pyramid itself, a network of underground chambers descends into darkness beneath the earth. The monument is known as the Black Pyramid, and even today, the hidden chambers beneath it remain among the most mysterious spaces ever discovered in ancient Egypt. The Black Pyramid was built during Egypt's Middle Kingdom nearly 4,000 years ago under Pharaoh Amenemhat III. Unlike the giant stone pyramids of Giza, this structure was constructed largely from mud brick covered originally with polished limestone casing. Over centuries, erosion and collapse darkened the monument, giving it the name it carries today. From a distance, the pyramid almost appears wounded, ancient, unstable, a ruined giant slowly sinking back into the desert. But the true mystery lies underground. Beneath the pyramid, ancient builders created an astonishing labyrinth of tunnels, chambers, and passageways descending deep below the surface. The interior feels nothing like the clean geometric perfection many people imagine when thinking about pyramids. The underground world of the Black Pyramid feels claustrophobic, confusing, almost alive with shadow. Long corridors twist beneath the earth. Massive stone blocks support narrow passageways. Hidden chambers appear unexpectedly beyond descending tunnels, and because parts of the structure shifted and collapsed over centuries, the interior carries an overwhelming feeling of danger and instability. Ancient engineers faced enormous problems while building the pyramid. The ground beneath Dashur contained soft clay that shifted under the monument's immense weight. Cracks began forming even during construction itself. Walls bent, passages weakened, and eventually, builders were forced to redesign sections of the underground chambers to prevent catastrophic collapse. That struggle remains visible even today inside the pyramid. The architecture feels strangely imperfect compared to other royal tombs, as though ancient builders were fighting against the earth itself while constructing the underground labyrinth. The burial chambers themselves deepen the mystery enormously. Unlike simpler pyramids, the Black Pyramid contained multiple burial areas intended not only for the pharaoh, but also royal queens. Granite sarcophagi rested deep within hidden chambers beneath layers of stone and mud brick. Ancient workers carried massive blocks underground through narrow corridors with astonishing precision. And because many sections later flooded or collapsed, parts of the pyramid remained inaccessible for long periods across history. The atmosphere underground feels deeply unsettling. The air becomes heavy and silent beneath the earth. Light disappears quickly beyond corners. Stone corridors narrow unexpectedly, and deeper inside, the realization slowly grows that thousands of tons of ancient pyramid press downward overhead. Visitors and archaeologists often describe the interior as one of the most eerie pyramid spaces in Egypt. Not grand and open like popular imagination, but cramped, shadowed, and labyrinthine. The Black Pyramid also became connected to strange legends over time. Some ancient Egyptians may have viewed the structure as cursed or unstable because of the engineering problems surrounding it. Later generations saw the partially collapsed pyramid rising darkly from the desert and imagined hidden dangers beneath the sands. And because much of the underground complex remained difficult to explore fully, mystery naturally expanded into folklore. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed secret chambers still exist beneath the known tunnels containing undiscovered royal treasures hidden from grave robbers. Others imagined ancient priests sealed forbidden knowledge inside collapsed corridors beneath the pyramid. A few even claimed the unstable architecture concealed deeper underground structures, older than the pyramid itself, buried beneath Dashur. Most historians reject those ideas completely. Yet even mainstream archaeology admits the Black Pyramid remains unusual compared to many Egyptian monuments, especially because the engineering failures themselves became part of its story. The pyramid was never fully successful, and perhaps that failure makes it more haunting emotionally than perfect monuments elsewhere. The structure feels vulnerable, human, a reminder that even ancient Egypt's greatest builders struggled against nature, weight, and time. The surrounding Dashur necropolis deepens the atmosphere enormously. The region contains several pyramids, including the famous Bent Pyramid, with its strange changing angle. The desert there feels quieter than Giza, less crowded, more isolated beneath endless sand and sky. And among those ancient monuments, the Black Pyramid rises darkly above hidden chambers descending into the earth. Perhaps that is what makes the site feel so unsettling. Not treasure, not curses, but the realization that beneath the desert, ancient Egypt created entire underground worlds now buried beneath collapse, darkness and time. Labyrinths beneath pyramids, silent royal chambers hidden below the sands, a forgotten subterranean kingdom beneath the monument itself. Even today, large sections of ancient Egypt remain buried beneath desert landscapes still unexplored. Collapsed tunnels and hidden chambers may continue sleeping beneath Dashur untouched for thousands of years. And somewhere beneath the dark pyramid rising from the Egyptian sands, the underground chambers still remain exactly where ancient builders carved them long ago, silent beneath stone, shadow, and the endless weight of the desert above. The Cyclopean walls of Mycenae. High on the rocky hills of Greece, overlooking ancient valleys beneath burning Mediterranean skies, there stand stone walls so enormous that people in the ancient world believed only giants could have built them. Massive blocks stacked without mortar, gigantic gateways rising above the landscape, hidden tunnels disappearing beneath the fortress and surrounding everything. The silence of a civilization that vanished more than 3,000 years ago. The place is known as Mycenae, one of the greatest strongholds of the Bronze Age world, and even today, its colossal stone walls continue making visitors ask the same question. How did ancient people move stones this enormous? Mycenae lies in southern Greece within the Peloponnese region. The landscape feels ancient immediately. Dry hills stretch beneath endless blue skies. Olive trees cover the valleys, and rising above the land, the ruined citadel still dominates the surrounding countryside exactly as it did thousands of years ago. The city once belonged to the Mycenaean civilization, a powerful Bronze Age culture that flourished long before classical Greece emerged. These were the legendary people later connected to stories of kings, warriors, and the Trojan War itself. And at the centre of their kingdom, they built one of the most heavily fortified cities of the ancient world. The walls of Mycenae became legendary even in antiquity. Ancient Greeks looking at the ruins centuries later could not believe ordinary humans constructed them. The stones were simply too enormous. Some blocks weigh several tons each. Massive rough-cut limestone stacked together into towering defensive walls surrounding the citadel. Because of their impossible appearance, later Greeks created a famous explanation. They believed the walls were built by Cyclopes, mythical one-eyed giants from ancient Greek legend, and so the fortifications became known as Cyclopean walls. The name survived for thousands of years, standing beside them even today. The myth almost feels believable emotionally. The scale becomes overwhelming immediately. Human beings appear tiny against the giant stone blocks. Unlike smoother masonry seen in later civilizations, the walls of Mycenae feel raw and primal. Immense stones fitted together through sheer size and weight. Ancient builders created fortifications designed to intimidate anyone approaching the city. And they succeeded. The entrance to the citadel deepens the atmosphere enormously. The famous Lion Gate still stands at Mycenae after more than 3,000 years. Two massive carved lions appear above the stone gateway guarding the entrance to the ancient fortress. The image feels powerful even now, a civilization announcing strength through architecture itself. Beyond the gate, ruins of royal buildings, courtyards, tombs, and underground chambers spread across the hilltop. The city once controlled trade and warfare across large parts of the ancient Aegean world. But eventually, something happened. Like many Bronze Age civilizations, Mycenae collapsed. The reasons remain debated: war, earthquakes, internal conflict, climate change, perhaps all together. Around the end of the Bronze Age, major civilizations across the eastern Mediterranean suddenly declined or disappeared entirely. Cities burned, trade networks collapsed, and entire kingdoms faded into silence. Mycenae became one more fallen fortress left behind by history. The underground structures beneath the citadel deepen the mystery further. Ancient stairways descend through hidden passages beneath the walls. Secret cisterns stored water underground during siege. Long tunnels disappear beneath massive stone corridors. The fortress was designed carefully for survival during war, and because parts of the underground systems remain dark and narrow even today, the atmosphere feels intensely claustrophobic beneath the ancient stones. The famous royal tombs nearby added another layer to the mystery. The so-called Treasury of Atreus, a giant beehive-shaped tomb built with astonishing precision, still stands near Mycenae. When archaeologists uncovered royal graves within the region, they discovered gold masks, weapons, and treasures buried beside ancient rulers. The discoveries shocked the modern world, because suddenly, the legends of ancient Greek kings no longer felt entirely mythical. A real, forgotten civilization had existed there long before classical history began. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the giant walls proved lost ancient technologies once existed before recorded history. Others imagined forgotten prehistoric civilizations teaching engineering knowledge to the Mycenaeans. A few even connected the Cyclopean myths literally to giant beings because of the impossible scale of the stones. Most historians reject those ideas completely, yet even mainstream archaeology admits the construction remains extraordinary. Ancient builders moved enormous blocks uphill without modern machinery and created fortifications strong enough to survive millennia. Perhaps that is what makes Mycenae feel so haunting. Not because giants truly built the walls, but because the ruins preserve evidence of a powerful civilization erased so completely that later generations transformed its memory into mythology itself. Real cities becoming legends, real kings becoming myths, and giant stone walls surviving long after the people who raised them disappeared from history. Even today, the winds still move through the ancient ruins of Mycenae beneath the Greek sun. The Lion Gate still watches silently over the hills, and somewhere among the colossal Cyclopean stones, the forgotten fortress of Bronze Age kings still stands exactly where ancient builders raised it thousands of years ago, silent beneath sky, stone, and the endless passing of time. The lost ruins of Akrotiri. Buried beneath layers of volcanic ash on the island of Santorini, there lies an ancient city frozen in time, stone streets still visible beneath the earth, multi-story buildings standing silently after thousands of years, ancient rooms filled with pottery, tools, and fragments of daily life left exactly where people abandoned them long ago. And surrounding the ruins, the memory of one of the greatest volcanic catastrophes in human history. The place is known as Akrotiri, and even today, many people believe it may have inspired the legend of Atlantis itself. Akrotiri lies on the Greek island of Santorini in the Aegean Sea. The island already feels unusual. Towering cliffs surround deep blue water where the centre of the island once exploded outward in a massive volcanic eruption. White villages cling dramatically to the edges of ancient crater walls, and beneath those cliffs, hidden under volcanic ash for thousands of years, the lost city remained preserved in darkness. Long before the eruption, Akrotiri was one of the most advanced settlements in the ancient Mediterranean. The city flourished during the Bronze Age more than 3,500 years ago. Stone buildings rose several stories high. Colourful frescoes covered interior walls. Complex streets connected neighbourhoods near the harbour. And sophisticated drainage systems carried water through the city with astonishing engineering for the ancient world. The civilization there belonged to the Minoan cultural sphere, connected strongly to nearby Crete and the wider Aegean world. Trade ships crossed the Mediterranean carrying goods, art, and knowledge between distant cultures. Akrotiri became wealthy and sophisticated, but then disaster approached. Sometime around the 16th century BCE, the volcano beneath Santorini erupted catastrophically. The explosion became one of the largest volcanic events in recorded human history. Ash clouds darkened the sky, earthquakes shattered buildings, massive tsunamis spread across the Mediterranean, and eventually, the island itself partially collapsed inward, creating the enormous flooded caldera visible today. Akrotiri disappeared beneath layers of ash and silence. Yet strangely, archaeologists discovered something deeply mysterious about the city. Very few human remains were found. Unlike Pompeii centuries later, Akrotiri appeared largely evacuated before the final eruption. That detail stunned researchers. It suggested the inhabitants may have received warning signs from earthquakes and escaped before total destruction arrived. The city itself remained behind, frozen in time beneath volcanic ash. The preservation feels extraordinary even today. Ancient pottery still rests inside rooms. Furniture impressions remain visible. Wall paintings survive with astonishing colour after thousands of years underground. The frescoes became especially famous. Scenes of ships, nature, ceremonies, and daily life painted across ancient walls beneath the buried city. The artwork feels vibrant and strangely modern emotionally, as though the civilization vanished suddenly, while life continued normally moments earlier. The streets of Akrotiri deepen the atmosphere enormously. Walking through the ruins feels less like exploring broken fragments, and more like wandering through an abandoned city. Narrow pathways pass between buildings. Staircases still connect upper levels. Storage jars remain where ancient people left them, and because volcanic ash preserved the city so carefully, Akrotiri creates an unsettling illusion that the inhabitants may return at any moment. The atmosphere surrounding Santorini strengthens the mystery further. The island itself was transformed permanently by the eruption. Entire landscapes vanished beneath the sea. And because Plato later described Atlantis as a powerful island civilization, destroyed suddenly in a catastrophic event, many researchers and writers connected the legend to Akrotiri and the Minoan world. Most historians believe Atlantis was primarily philosophical myth, rather than literal history. Yet emotionally, the connection remains powerful. A sophisticated island civilization destroyed suddenly by fire and sea. A city buried beneath ash for thousands of years. The similarities feel impossible to ignore completely. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed Akrotiri preserved hidden knowledge from a lost advanced civilization erased by the eruption. Others imagined sealed chambers still buried beneath unexplored layers of Santorini. A few even claimed the volcanic catastrophe nearly ended civilization across the ancient Mediterranean entirely. Most historians reject the more extreme ideas completely. Yet even mainstream archaeology admits the eruption changed the ancient world dramatically. Trade networks collapsed. Coastal settlements suffered destruction. Entire cultures may have weakened afterward. The emotional power of Akrotiri comes partly from its silence. Unlike ruins destroyed slowly across centuries, this city disappeared almost instantly beneath volcanic ash. A single catastrophic moment freezing an ancient civilization in time. The people escaped, but the city remained, waiting underground beneath layers of stone and ash while the world above changed completely. Perhaps that is what makes Akrotiri feel so haunting. Not treasure, not myths, but the realization that entire worlds can vanish suddenly, while traces survive hidden beneath the earth for thousands of years unnoticed. A city sleeping beneath volcanic dust. A civilization paused forever between ordinary life and catastrophe. Even today, excavations continue uncovering new sections of Akrotiri beneath Santorini. More streets, more buildings, more fragments of lives interrupted long ago. And somewhere beneath the volcanic island rising from the Aegean Sea, the buried ruins of Akrotiri still rest in silence, exactly where the ancient world disappeared beneath ash thousands of years ago. The pyramid altar, older than the pyramids. On the island of Sardinia, surrounded by windswept fields and ancient silence, there stands a monument unlike anything else in Europe. A giant stone platform rising from the earth in layered steps. Long ceremonial ramps leading upward toward the sky. Massive blocks stacked into a strange pyramid-like structure centuries older than Rome itself. And beneath the monument, traces of rituals, sacrifice, and forgotten civilizations lost long before written history fully reached the island. The place is known as Monte da Codi, and even today, archaeologists still debate why ancient people built something so unusual in the middle of the Mediterranean world. Monte da Codi lies near the city of Sassari in northern Sardinia. The landscape feels quiet and timeless. Rolling plains stretch beneath open skies, olive trees move softly in the wind, and rising unexpectedly from the countryside. The ancient stone platform appears almost unnatural against the surrounding land. At first glance, it resembles a step pyramid, or perhaps an altar, a giant raised platform connected to a long ascending ramp. The shape feels strangely familiar, especially because structures similar to it appeared in ancient Mesopotamia thousands of miles away. Yet Monte da Codi stands alone in Europe. Nothing else quite like it exists on the continent. The monument dates back more than 5,000 years, possibly older in some sections. That means it already stood in antiquity long before classical Greece or Rome existed. And perhaps most unsettling of all, nobody fully understands its original purpose. Archaeologists believe the earliest builders first created a raised ceremonial platform on the site during the Neolithic period. Later generations expanded it dramatically into the giant stepped structure visible today. Massive stone blocks formed terraces leading upward toward a sacred area at the summit. A long ramp allowed processions to climb toward the elevated platform. The entire structure appears designed for ritual, but what rituals unfolded there remains uncertain. Excavations revealed strange discoveries around the monument. Animal bones, ash, ceremonial objects, fragments of sacrifice and ancient religious activity preserved beneath the earth. Some researchers believe Monte da Codi functioned as a giant altar, where rituals connected to fertility, death, astronomy, or seasonal cycles took place. Others suggest the structure may have served as a ceremonial meeting place linking surrounding prehistoric communities together. But because the civilization responsible left no written records, certainty vanished thousands of years ago. Only stone remains. The atmosphere surrounding Monte da Codi feels deeply unusual. Unlike towering pyramids or massive fortresses, the monument feels isolated and exposed beneath the Sardinian sky. Wind moves constantly across the plains. Silence surrounds the ancient stones, and because the structure rises gradually upward rather than vertically, climbing the ramp creates the strange sensation of approaching something sacred hidden above the earth itself. The site also contains additional mysterious stones nearby, large standing rocks, carved boulders, fragments of older ritual landscapes surrounding the platform. Ancient Sardinia itself already carried enormous mystery. Thousands of megalithic structures once covered the island. Nuraga towers, sacred wells, giant tombs, stone circles, entire prehistoric ceremonial worlds surviving across the Mediterranean long before recorded history fully began. Monte da Codi feels connected to that forgotten universe, a sacred monument from a civilization modern people barely understand now. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the platform connected Sardinia to lost seafaring civilizations travelling across the Mediterranean thousands of years before accepted history. Others imagined the monument functioned as an ancient observatory aligned with celestial events. A few even claimed Monte da Codi proved contact between prehistoric Sardinia and Mesopotamia because of its striking resemblance to ancient ziggurats. Most historians reject the more extreme theories completely, yet even mainstream archaeology admits the monument remains highly unusual, especially because no comparable structure exists elsewhere in prehistoric Europe. The emotional power of Monte da Codi comes partly from its loneliness. The structure stands isolated against the open landscape exactly where ancient builders raised it thousands of years ago. Civilizations vanished around it. Languages disappeared. Empires rose and collapsed across the Mediterranean. Yet the giant platform still remains beneath the sky, a sacred staircase leading nowhere modern people fully understand anymore. Perhaps that is what makes the monument feel so haunting. Not because it hides supernatural secrets, but because it preserves evidence of spiritual worlds completely lost to history. Ancient humans gathering beneath torchlight, climbing stone ramps towards ceremonies modern civilization can barely imagine now. A prehistoric altar surviving from an age before written memory itself. Even today, archaeologists continue studying Monte da Codi, searching for clues about the forgotten people who shaped the monument. And somewhere among the silent plains of Sardinia, the ancient stone platform still rises from the earth, exactly where prehistoric builders lifted it toward the sky thousands of years ago, waiting quietly beneath wind, stone, and the endless passing of time. The Sandbyborg Massacre Mystery. On a remote island off the coast of Sweden, hidden among windswept grasslands beside the Baltic Sea, there lies an ancient fortress where something terrible happened. Bodies collapsed inside ruined homes, skeletons left exactly where they fell, no signs of burial, no signs of survivors returning. And for more than 1,500 years, the dead remained untouched inside the stone fortress, as though time itself abandoned the place after a single horrifying moment. The site is known as Sandbyborg, and even today, archaeologists still do not fully understand why an entire community appears to have been massacred and left where they died. Sandbyborg lies on the island of Öland in Sweden. The landscape feels quiet and isolated. Cold winds move across open plains beneath grey skies. Ancient stone walls rise unexpectedly from the grass, and scattered across the island, circular ring forts built during the Iron Age still remain standing after centuries of silence. But among those ancient fortresses, Sandbyborg feels different, darker, because when archaeologists began excavating the site, they discovered evidence not simply of abandonment, but sudden violence frozen in time. The fortress itself dates back roughly 1,500 years to the migration period of northern Europe, a chaotic era following the decline of the Western Roman Empire when kingdoms shifted, warfare spread, and entire populations moved across Europe. Sandbyborg was built as a fortified settlement surrounded by circular stone walls designed to protect its inhabitants from danger. Families once lived inside wooden houses arranged neatly within the fortress. Life unfolded there normally for years. Then suddenly, everything stopped. During excavations beginning in the modern era, archaeologists uncovered human remains lying inside houses and streets, exactly where the victims collapsed. One skeleton lay face down near a doorway. Another was discovered inside a home beside everyday objects left untouched. An elderly man still sat near his fireplace where he appears to have died. The emotional impact stunned researchers immediately, because unlike ordinary ancient graves, these bodies were never buried. Nobody returned for them, no rituals, no funerals, nothing. It appeared the survivors, if any existed, abandoned the fortress permanently after the attack. That detail transformed Sandbyborg into one of Europe's most haunting archaeological mysteries. The evidence suggests a violent massacre likely occurred suddenly. Weapons injuries appeared on some remains, and the positioning of bodies indicated people were attacked unexpectedly during ordinary daily life. Yet strangely, valuable objects remained inside the settlement: jewellery, imported goods, precious items connected to elite status during the Iron Age. If raiders attacked for wealth, Why leave so much behind? That question deepened the mystery enormously. Some archaeologists believe the massacre carried symbolic meaning beyond robbery. Perhaps rival groups destroyed the community deliberately as a warning. Others suggest political betrayal or revenge connected to regional power struggles during the chaotic migration period. But because written records from that era remain scarce, certainty vanished long ago. Only silence remained inside the ruined fortress. The atmosphere surrounding Sandby Borg feels deeply unsettling even today. The circular stone walls still stand against the Baltic landscape. Wind moves softly through grass growing above the buried ruins, and beneath the earth, the dead still remain in places where violence ended their lives centuries ago. Unlike famous battlefields or grand royal tombs, Sandby Borg feels intensely personal. Ordinary people interrupted suddenly during ordinary moments. Families, homes, meals left unfinished. A community erased almost instantly. The fortress also became surrounded by folklore over time. Local traditions claimed the site was cursed or haunted for generations. Nearby people avoided disturbing the ruins unnecessarily. Ancient places connected to violent death often create legends naturally. And because Sandby Borg remained largely untouched for centuries, the silence around the site only strengthened the fear surrounding it. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the massacre connected to forbidden rituals or supernatural punishment because the dead were never buried properly. Others imagined plague or disease striking the fortress, suddenly causing survivors to flee in terror. A few even claimed hidden chambers, and treasures still remain buried beneath unexplored sections of the site protected by ancient curses. Most historians reject those ideas completely. Yet even mainstream archaeology admits Sandby Borg remains extraordinary. Very rarely do archaeologists discover an ancient massacre site preserved with such direct evidence of sudden violence and abandonment. The site captures a human tragedy frozen permanently in time, and perhaps that is what makes Sandby Borg feel so haunting. Not hidden treasure, not supernatural myths, but the realization that entire communities can vanish so completely that only silence remains behind. The people of Sandby Borg once lived ordinary lives inside their stone fortress beside the Baltic Sea. Then one day, something happened so terrible nobody returned to bury the dead. For 15 centuries, the victims remained where they fell beneath the Swedish earth. And somewhere within the cold stone walls of Sandby Borg, the silent remains of the forgotten fortress still rest exactly where violence ended an ancient world long ago. The tomb of El Brujo, along the northern coast of Peru, where the desert meets the Pacific Ocean beneath endless grey skies, there stands an ancient pyramid complex filled with secrets buried beneath sand and silence. Massive adobe temples rise from the earth like eroded mountains, ancient murals stare from crumbling walls, and deep inside one hidden tomb, archaeologists uncovered a discovery that completely changed what historians believed about power in the ancient Americas. The remains belong to a woman, wrapped in layers of ritual and wealth, buried with gold, weapons and symbols of authority, and for more than 1,600 years, she rested untouched beneath the ancient pyramid complex known as El Brujo. The discovery shocked the archaeological world, because according to earlier assumptions, rulers and warriors of ancient Peru were expected to be men. But the tomb revealed something very different. A powerful female ruler buried with extraordinary ceremony long before the rise of the Inca Empire. The site of El Brujo lies beside the Pacific coast in northern Peru. The landscape feels harsh and ancient. Dry desert stretches toward the sea beneath heavy coastal clouds. Wind moves across enormous adobe ruins slowly eroded by centuries of sun and salt air. And rising above the sand, giant ceremonial pyramids dominate the landscape exactly as they did long before European contact reached South America. The complex belonged to the Moche civilization, one of the most sophisticated cultures of ancient Peru, flourishing between roughly 100 and 800 CE. The Moche built massive temples, irrigation systems, ceremonial cities, and extraordinary artwork centuries before the Inca Empire emerged. Yet much about their society still remains mysterious. They left no fully understood writing system behind. Only architecture, murals, pottery and tombs survive, and among those tombs, none became more famous than the burial discovered at El Brujo. In 2005, Archaeologists excavating inside one of the pyramids uncovered a sealed chamber hidden beneath layers of adobe brick. Inside rested the body of a woman later called the Lady of Cow. Her remains were wrapped carefully in ceremonial cloth surrounded by grave offerings of astonishing richness. Gold jewellery, silver ornaments, weapons, ceremonial clubs, symbols of elite authority. The burial clearly belonged to someone powerful, very powerful. Then researchers made another extraordinary discovery. The woman's skin still preserved ancient tattoos visible on her arms and body. Serpents, spiders, sacred symbols connected to Moche spiritual beliefs. The tattoo survived because of the dry desert conditions preserving parts of the body for centuries. The images felt haunting immediately. A ruler from the ancient world still carrying sacred symbols on her skin after more than 1,500 years underground. The discovery transformed historical understanding of the Moche civilization, because the Lady of Chow appeared not merely wealthy, but possibly a ruler or high priestess herself, a woman holding political and ceremonial authority within ancient Peru. That realization challenged older assumptions about gender and leadership in ancient societies across the Americas. The tomb itself deepened the mystery enormously. The burial chamber contained layer after layer of ritual symbolism, ceremonial objects positioned carefully around the body, offerings connected to death, power, and spiritual transition. Ancient Moche people believed deeply in ritual and the supernatural world. Their art often depicted ceremonies, sacrifices, gods, warriors, and transformations between life and death. And beneath the pyramid at El Brujo, those beliefs became frozen in time around the body of the Lady of Chow herself. The atmosphere surrounding El Brujo feels deeply unsettling even today. The giant adobe pyramids rise silently above the desert beside the ocean. Murals emerge from ancient walls depicting strange figures and ritual scenes, and beneath the ruins, countless chambers still remain buried beneath layers of sand and collapsed brick. The desert preserves secrets unusually well. Entire civilizations can sleep beneath the earth there for centuries unnoticed. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the Lady of Chow possessed supernatural status within the Moche world because of the tattoos and ceremonial burial. Others imagined hidden chambers still buried deeper within El Brujo, containing additional rulers and forgotten treasures. A few even connected the site to lost knowledge from prehistoric civilizations erased before recorded history fully began in South America. Most historians reject those ideas completely. Yet even mainstream archaeology admits the Moche civilization remains partly mysterious. Their religious practices, political systems, and beliefs still contain enormous unanswered questions, and discoveries like the Lady of Cow continue reshaping modern understanding of the ancient Andes. Perhaps that is what makes El Brujo feel so haunting, not simply the treasure or the tomb itself, but the realization that entire powerful civilizations once flourished along the Peruvian coast, building pyramids, ruling kingdoms, and creating sacred worlds long before most people realized such societies even existed. A queen beneath the desert, a forgotten ruler sleeping inside a pyramid beside the sea, and somewhere within the ancient adobe temples of El Brujo, the silent tomb of the Lady of Cow still rests beneath sand, wind, and the endless grey skies of coastal Peru, exactly where ancient hands sealed it centuries ago. The endless water tunnels of Nazca, in one of the driest deserts on Earth, where rain almost never falls and the ground cracks beneath endless heat. An ancient civilization built a system so advanced that parts of it still function even today. Gigantic spiral openings descending into the earth, hidden underground water tunnels stretching beneath the desert, stone-lined channels carrying fresh water across impossible terrain. And surrounding everything, the same mysterious civilization that created the famous Nazca lines visible only from the sky. The place is known as the Canterlock Aqueducts, and even today, historians still debate how ancient people engineered such a sophisticated water system in one of the harshest environments on Earth. The aqueducts lie near the city of Nazca in southern Peru. The landscape feels almost alien. Dry mountains surround vast desert plains beneath blinding sunlight. Rainfall is extremely rare. Rivers disappear seasonally, and survival itself always depended on finding water hidden beneath the earth. Yet somehow, nearly 2,000 years ago, the Nazca civilization created an underground hydraulic network capable of supporting agriculture and life across the desert. The system became known as the Puquios, ancient underground aqueducts designed to access subterranean water sources flowing beneath the dry landscape. Stone-lined tunnels carried water underground across long distances while protecting it from evaporation beneath the intense desert heat. But the most mysterious part of the system appears at the surface. Large spiral openings descending into the earth like giant stone whirlpools. The spirals allowed access into the underground channels below. From above, they look almost unreal. Perfect circular pathways winding downward into darkness beneath the desert. The design feels strangely modern, almost engineered beyond what many people expect from the ancient world. And perhaps most astonishing of all, some sections still function today. Water continues flowing through parts of the aqueduct system exactly as ancient builders intended centuries ago. That reality stunned engineers and archaeologists alike. Because maintaining reliable water access in the Nazca Desert required extraordinary understanding of geology, underground pressure, airflow and hydrology, the Nazca people achieved all of it without modern machinery. Exactly how they designed and mapped the underground channels remains partly mysterious. The tunnels themselves deepen the atmosphere enormously. Cool air rises from the spiral entrances beneath the desert heat. Stone-lined passageways disappear underground beyond visibility, and because water still flows quietly through some channels, the aqueducts feel less like ruins and more like living systems hidden beneath the earth. The spiral shafts may have served additional purposes beyond simple access. Some researchers believe the shape helped regulate airflow and water pressure inside the tunnels. Others suggest the spirals also carried symbolic or ceremonial meaning connected to Nazca spiritual beliefs. Ancient desert civilizations often viewed water as sacred because survival depended completely upon it. In such harsh environments, underground water systems would have felt almost miraculous. The Nazca civilization itself deepens the mystery enormously. These were the same people who created the giant Nazca lines across the desert floor. Massive geoglyphs depicting animals, shapes, and geometric patterns only fully visible from high above the ground. The purpose of those lines remains debated even today. Ceremonial pathways, astronomical markers, ritual landscapes connected to water and fertility. And because the aqueducts existed within the same civilization, some researchers believe the two mysteries may connect spiritually somehow. Perhaps the Nazca viewed water, landscape and ritual as part of one enormous sacred system stretching across the desert. The atmosphere surrounding the aqueducts feels ancient and isolated. Wind moves softly across empty plains. The spiral openings descend silently into darkness, and beyond the tunnels, endless desert stretches beneath the Peruvian sky exactly as it did centuries ago. Standing beside the spirals creates a strange emotional effect. The structures feel both beautiful and deeply mysterious at the same time, like entrances into another hidden world beneath the desert surface. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the Nazca possessed lost engineering knowledge far beyond accepted ancient technology. Others imagined hidden underground cities connected to the aqueduct tunnels beneath Peru. A few even claimed extraterrestrials helped ancient builders create both the Nazca lines and the water systems because of their scale and precision. Most historians reject those ideas completely. Yet even mainstream archaeology admits the Cantalloc aqueducts remain one of the greatest hydraulic achievements of the ancient Americas. The system genuinely demonstrates remarkable engineering sophistication. Perhaps that is what makes the aqueducts feel so haunting, not because they are supernatural, but because they reveal how deeply ancient civilizations understood their environment long before modern technology existed. The Nazca people transformed one of the driest places on Earth into a living landscape through patience, engineering, and knowledge passed across generations. They built rivers beneath the desert itself, and somehow, those underground waters still flow today. Even now, archaeologists continue studying the Nazca region, searching for clues about how the aqueducts were designed and maintained. Large sections of the underground networks remain only partially explored, and somewhere beneath the silent deserts of Peru, the endless tunnels of the Cantalloc aqueduct still carry water through darkness exactly where ancient builders carved them centuries ago, hidden beneath stone, sand, and the burning desert sky above. the stone world hidden inside the mountains. In the heart of Turkey, beneath skies filled with drifting clouds and towering rock formations, there exists an entire world carved directly into stone, ancient homes hidden inside cliffs, underground chambers disappearing beneath valleys, churches painted deep within the rock itself, and strange towering formations rising across the landscape like something from another planet. The place is known as Göreme, and even today, the ancient rock structures of Cappadocia remain one of the most surreal and mysterious landscapes on Earth. Because for thousands of years, people did not simply build beside the mountains, they lived inside them. Göreme lies within the Cappadocia region of central Turkey. The landscape feels unreal immediately. Tall, cone-shaped rock pillars rise across valleys and hills beneath endless skies. Some formations resemble giant towers, others look almost human. Wind and volcanic activity shape the soft stone over millions of years, creating one of the strangest landscapes anywhere in the world. But ancient people saw something else in those rocks: shelter, protection, a hidden world waiting inside the mountains. The volcanic stone of Cappadocia is soft enough to carve, yet strong enough to remain stable. Over centuries, entire civilizations transformed the landscape into architecture. Homes carved into cliffs, storage chambers hidden underground, secret tunnels connecting valleys, monasteries and churches disappearing inside mountainsides. The deeper historians explored Göreme, the more astonishing the region became. Entire underground worlds stretched beneath the surface. Not isolated caves, but complete living environments built directly into the earth. The atmosphere there feels dreamlike, especially during sunrise. Golden light spreads across the valleys while shadows move between towering stone formations. Openings in the cliffs slowly become visible. Windows, doorways, ancient stairways carved directly into rock faces high above the ground. And beneath the silence, the realization slowly grows that generations of people once lived entire lives hidden inside the mountains themselves. The rock churches became some of the most mysterious structures in Göreme. Deep within the cliffs, ancient Christian communities carved sacred spaces directly into the stone during the Byzantine period. Dark chambers decorated with painted frescoes still survive after centuries underground. Images of saints, angels and biblical scenes cover ceilings hidden far inside the rock. Some paintings remain astonishingly preserved. Others faded almost completely into shadow. The churches feel deeply isolated emotionally, especially because many were created during periods of invasion and religious danger, when communities sought refuge within Cappadocia's hidden valleys. The underground networks beneath the region deepen the mystery enormously. Entire subterranean cities connect to the landscape surrounding Göreme. Tunnels, ventilation shafts, hidden escape routes. Ancient people could vanish underground when danger approached, and because Cappadocia endured centuries of warfare, migration and invasion, survival often depended on secrecy beneath the earth itself. The rock formations also became connected to folklore over generations. Locals sometimes called them fairy chimneys, because the towering shapes looked almost supernatural against the landscape. Fog drifting through the valleys during dawn only strengthened that feeling. The environment itself feels ancient beyond explanation, a world shaped equally by geology and human imagination together. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the underground structures of Cappadocia connected to lost civilizations older than recorded history. Others imagined hidden chambers still sealed deep within unexplored valleys and mountains. A few even claimed Göreme's strange landscape inspired myths about underground worlds and hidden kingdoms across ancient cultures. Most historians reject the more extreme theories completely, yet even mainstream archaeology admits Cappadocia remains one of the most extraordinary human landscapes ever created. Because ancient people adapted to the environment with astonishing creativity, instead of fighting the mountains, they entered them. The emotional power of Göreme comes partly from how naturally human life merged with the stone itself. Modern cities often separate humanity from nature, but Göreme feels different. Homes become cliffs, churches become caves, entire civilizations disappear into the earth almost invisibly. The boundaries between architecture and landscape vanish completely. Perhaps that is what makes the region feel so haunting. Not simply the beauty, but the realization that generations of people lived hidden within a stone world modern civilization can barely imagine now. Communities surviving inside mountains, prayers echoing through rock chambers, entire underground civilizations hidden beneath strange volcanic valleys. Even today, large parts of Cappadocia remain only partially explored. Collapsed tunnels and hidden chambers may still sleep beneath the region, untouched for centuries. And somewhere among the silent valleys of Gurame, the ancient rock structures still rise from the mountains exactly where forgotten civilizations carved them long ago, hidden beneath stone, shadow, and the endless skies of central Turkey, the ancient chamber built for the dead. In the quiet countryside of Wales, hidden among green hills and ancient fields, there stands a stone chamber older than the pyramids of Egypt, gigantic capstones balanced impossibly above the earth, massive upright stones forming a silent burial chamber beneath open skies, and surrounding the monument, legends of spirits, forgotten rituals, and voices from a world long erased by time. The place is known as Tinkinswood Burial Chamber, and even today, nobody fully understands why prehistoric people built such enormous monuments for the dead thousands of years before written history existed. Tinkinswood lies near Cardiff in southern Wales. The landscape feels peaceful now. Rolling hills stretch beneath cloudy skies. Rain moves softly across fields and forests, and standing quietly among the grass, the ancient chamber almost disappears into the land itself, until visitors approach closer. Then the scale becomes overwhelming. A gigantic stone cap rests above the chamber, weighing an estimated 40 tons, one of the largest capstones in Britain. Supported by upright stones placed carefully by human hands more than 6,000 years ago. The monument dates back to the Neolithic period, an age before metal tools, before recorded kingdoms, before cities rose across most of Europe. Yet somehow, prehistoric people transported and raised stones so enormous that even modern visitors struggle imagining how it was achieved. The burial chamber originally formed part of a larger tomb mound stretching across the landscape. Inside, archaeologists discovered human remains belonging to dozens of individuals buried there over generations, fragments of pottery, tools, burned bones, evidence of ritual and ceremony unfolding around the chamber for centuries. The structure was not built for a single burial. It became a sacred place connected to entire communities and their relationship with death itself. The atmosphere surrounding Tinkinswood feels deeply ancient, especially during evening or fog. Wind moves quietly through the Welsh countryside. The massive stones cast long shadows across the grass, and because the monument stands exposed beneath open sky after thousands of years, it creates the strange feeling that time moves differently there. The chamber itself deepens the mystery enormously. The enormous capstone appears almost impossible balanced above the burial space. Human beings instinctively look upward, wondering how ancient people ever lifted such weight without machinery. Researchers believe prehistoric builders used earth ramps, wooden rollers, ropes, and enormous coordinated labour to position the stone carefully. But emotionally, the monument still feels beyond ordinary explanation, especially considering its age. Ancient communities invested extraordinary effort into building sacred places for the dead. That realization reveals something powerful about prehistoric humanity. These people were not primitive wanderers surviving day to day without deeper thought. They possessed ritual, memory, spirituality, and connection to ancestors strong enough to organize monumental construction thousands of years before written history began. Tinkinswood also became surrounded by folklore over centuries. Local legends claimed the site carried supernatural energy. Some believed spirits remained near the chamber after dark. Others warned people not to disturb the stones unnecessarily. One old tradition even suggested that spending a night inside the chamber during certain festivals could lead to visions, madness, or communication with the dead. Such stories emerged naturally around ancient burial sites across Britain, especially monuments older than memory itself. The surrounding landscape of Wales deepens that atmosphere enormously. Ancient stone circles, standing stones, burial mounds, and forgotten ruins remain scattered across the countryside. Fog drifting across green hills often transforms ordinary places into something dreamlike. and prehistoric monuments standing within those landscapes naturally became connected to myths and spirits over generations. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed Tinkinswood aligned with ancient astronomical events and celestial cycles. Others imagined lost prehistoric knowledge, allowing builders to move gigantic stones with methods modern civilization no longer remembers. A few even claim the chamber connected to hidden underground worlds beneath the Welsh hills. Most historians reject those ideas completely, yet even mainstream archaeology admits Neolithic monument builders possessed remarkable engineering skill and symbolic understanding for their time. The emotional power of Tinkinswood comes partly from its silence. Unlike grand temples or famous pyramids crowded with tourists, the chamber remains quiet, a solitary prehistoric monument resting among fields beneath changing skies. The dead buried there vanished thousands of years ago. Their names disappeared, their language faded completely. Yet the stone chamber they built still remains, a message from a forgotten world surviving beyond memory itself. Perhaps that is what makes Tinkinswood feel so haunting, not because it hides treasure or supernatural secrets, but because it reveals how ancient humanity already understood something timeless, that memory matters, that the dead should not vanish completely, and that stone can outlive nearly everything else. Even today, the massive capstone of Tinkinswood still stands exactly where prehistoric builders raised it more than 6,000 years ago, silent beneath the Welsh sky while centuries pass quietly around the ancient chamber of the dead. The bridge that appears in the fog. Deep within the Scottish Highlands, surrounded by cold forests, silent valleys, and endless mist, there are moments when travellers see something that should not exist. A bridge emerging suddenly through the fog. Ancient stone arches appearing above deep ravines. Dark silhouettes suspended between mountains before vanishing back into the mist moments later. And for centuries, people crossing the highlands told stories about bridges that seemed to appear from nowhere beneath the fog. The landscape itself feels haunted, old, almost untouched by time, and among the endless hills and valleys of Scotland, certain bridges became surrounded by legends no one ever fully explained. The Highlands of Scotland are famous for their weather. Fog moves constantly across mountains and forests. Entire valleys disappear beneath thick white mist within minutes. Ancient roads twist through isolated landscapes where visibility changes suddenly without warning. In such places, the human mind begins seeing shapes differently, especially at dawn or nightfall. A distant cliff becomes a tower, a shadow becomes a figure, and sometimes, through the fog, an ancient bridge seems to emerge from nowhere. One of the most famous examples lies near old stone crossings hidden deep within the Highlands. Bridges built centuries ago during periods when Scotland itself felt like another world entirely. Narrow stone pathways crossing rivers beneath enormous skies. Constructed from dark rock weathered by rain, wind, and time. Some remain isolated even today, far from modern cities, and when fog surrounds them, the atmosphere becomes almost unreal. The arches appear gradually through white mist as though materializing from another age. Travellers throughout history described strange experiences near these crossings. Some claimed they heard footsteps in the fog when nobody else was present. Others reported seeing shadowy figures crossing old bridges before disappearing completely into the mist. A few believed certain bridges marked boundaries between worlds in old Scottish folklore, places where the natural and supernatural briefly touched. Ancient Celtic traditions across Scotland already carried deep spiritual beliefs connected to landscapes. Mountains, rivers, standing stones, fog-covered valleys. Nature itself often felt alive with hidden presence. Bridges especially carried symbolic meaning. They connected separate lands, separated danger from safety, crossed rivers ancient people viewed as spiritual boundaries, and during heavy fog, crossing an isolated bridge in the Highlands could feel deeply unsettling emotionally. The atmosphere itself explains part of the mystery. Scottish fog changes sound and perception dramatically. Voices echo strangely across valleys. Shapes appear distorted through mist. Distance becomes difficult to judge. Old stone bridges emerging slowly from fog naturally create dreamlike experiences in such conditions, especially at night beneath rain and wind. Yet emotionally, the legend survived because the Highlands already feel ancient beyond explanation. Ruined castles stand abandoned across cliffs and hills, Old battlefields disappear beneath grass. Forgotten villages remain hidden among valleys. The land carries memory everywhere, and bridges standing there for centuries quietly absorb those stories generation after generation. Some of the most famous Scottish bridges also became connected to darker legends. Stories of travellers vanishing into fog, phantom riders crossing stone arches during storms, ghostly processions appearing briefly above rivers before disappearing again into the mist. Most historians view those tales as folklore shaped by isolation, weather and imagination. But standing alone in Highland fog, the stories become surprisingly easy to believe emotionally, especially because the environment feels so powerful. Cold wind moving through ancient stone, mist swallowing entire landscapes, silence broken only by distant water beneath unseen arches. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed certain bridges in Scotland were intentionally built atop ancient sacred sites connected to older Celtic rituals. Others imagined hidden tunnels and forgotten ruins beneath remote crossings lost beneath the highlands. A few even claimed the fog itself carried unusual atmospheric effects capable of creating hallucinations or time distortions in isolated valleys. Most researchers reject those ideas completely, yet even mainstream historians admit Scottish folklore surrounding bridges and mist remains deeply rooted within Highland culture. The environment itself shaped generations of storytelling, and perhaps that is the deeper mystery, not whether bridges literally appear and disappear in the fog, but how certain landscapes transform human imagination so completely that ordinary places begin feeling supernatural. The Highlands do that naturally. Fog turns stone into shadows, distance into illusion, silence into presence, and ancient bridges emerging slowly from white mist feel less like architecture, and more like fragments of another world briefly revealing themselves. Even today, travellers crossing remote parts of Scotland still describe the same strange feeling during heavy fog. The sensation that something ancient waits beyond visibility, a road leading somewhere older than memory. And somewhere within the mist-covered valleys of Scotland, the silent stone bridges still emerge through the fog exactly as they have for centuries, appearing briefly between worlds before vanishing once again into the white silence of the Highlands, the tower that appeared in a wheat field. In the countryside of Romania, surrounded by endless wheat fields and silent hills, farmers began noticing something strange rising from the landscape. At first, it looked like a shadow in the distance, then a shape, then something impossible. A tall, dark tower standing alone in the middle of the fields, where nobody remembered seeing anything before. No roads leading to it, no nearby ruins, no explanation for why it seemed to appear suddenly from nowhere. And as rumours spread through nearby villages, the strange structure became surrounded by mystery almost immediately. People started calling it the tower that appeared in the wheat field, and even today, nobody fully agrees what was truly seen there. The story comes from rural Romania, a country already famous for legends, forgotten ruins, and isolated mountain landscapes, where folklore survives strongly even now. The countryside feels ancient. Rolling hills stretch beneath cloudy skies, old forests cover distant mountains, and scattered across remote regions, abandoned churches, medieval ruins, and forgotten stone structures still stand quietly among fields and villages. In such places, unusual discoveries quickly become legends. According to local stories, the mysterious tower first drew attention during a season when wheat fields covered the land almost completely. From certain angles, a tall structure appeared visible beyond the crops. Dark, narrow, almost perfectly vertical against the horizon. Some described it as stone. Others claimed it looked metallic during sunset. A few insisted the tower seemed taller each time they saw it. Yet when people attempted reaching the location directly, confusion followed. Distances felt strange across the open fields. The tower sometimes appeared closer than it truly was. At other times, it vanished completely depending on weather and light. Some villagers believed the structure was simply an old forgotten ruin hidden by landscape and fog. Others became convinced something far stranger was happening. Romania already carried centuries of folklore connected to mysterious structures and haunted places. Medieval towers abandoned after war, ruined monasteries hidden in forests, legends about lost fortresses swallowed by the earth itself. And because much of rural Eastern Europe remained isolated for generations, stories survived there in ways modern cities often erased elsewhere. The atmosphere surrounding the wheat fields deepened the mystery enormously. Fog frequently moves across Romanian countryside during mornings and evenings. Tall wheat changes visibility and perspective dramatically. Shadows stretch strangely across open land during sunset, and isolated objects on the horizon often appear distorted against moving mist and light. A distant ruin can suddenly feel enormous or impossibly close. Human perception becomes unreliable in such landscapes, especially in silence. Yet emotionally, the story survived because the image itself feels haunting. A solitary tower standing in empty fields beneath dark skies. A structure with no clear history appearing almost like a memory returning from another time. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the tower marked the ruins of a forgotten medieval settlement buried beneath the fields centuries ago. Others imagined it connected to hidden underground tunnels stretching beneath rural Romania from ancient wars and invasions. A few even claimed the tower appeared only under certain atmospheric conditions because it belonged to another place entirely, visible briefly through fog and distance like a mirage. More extreme theories connected it to extraterrestrials or dimensional anomalies because isolated towers always seem to attract cosmic speculation online. Most historians reject those ideas completely, yet even skeptics admit isolated ruins in Eastern Europe often remain poorly documented. Forgotten churches, military watchtowers, and abandoned stone structures still exist hidden among forests and farmland throughout Romania. Some genuinely disappear from memory for generations before being rediscovered accidentally. The emotional power of the story comes partly from what towers symbolize psychologically. A tower alone in an empty field suggests watching, waiting, a surviving fragment from another world. Human beings instinctively attach meaning to isolated vertical structures against open landscapes, especially ancient ones, and when fog, distance, and silence surround them, imagination naturally grows stronger than certainty. Perhaps that is why the legend survived. Not because a supernatural tower literally appeared from nowhere, but because certain landscapes make forgotten things feel alive again. A distant ruin becomes a mystery, a shadow becomes evidence, and ordinary countryside begins feeling connected to something older hidden beneath the surface. Even today, travellers crossing isolated regions of Romania still describe strange moments where ruins suddenly emerge from fog-covered fields before disappearing again into mist and distance. And somewhere beneath the cold skies of Eastern Europe, the mysterious tower still stands among the wheat fields, exactly where generations claimed it appeared silently from nowhere long ago. The doorway carved into nowhere. High in the mountains of Peru, far above the valleys and clouds, there is a doorway carved directly into solid stone. No chamber behind it, no temple connected to it, no hidden room waiting inside the mountain. Just a giant stone doorway leading absolutely nowhere. The place is known as Aramumuru, and for centuries, local legends claimed it was never meant for humans at all. The mysterious doorway lies near Lake Titicaca, near the border of Peru and Bolivia. The landscape feels ancient beyond words. Cold winds move across the high Andes beneath endless skies. Mountains surround the region like giant stone walls, and scattered across the plateau. Ruins from forgotten civilizations still remain hidden among the hills. But Aramumuru feels different from ordinary ruins, because it doesn't look unfinished, it looks intentional. A giant rectangular doorway carved smoothly into a massive sandstone cliff, roughly 20 feet tall, perfectly shaped, with a smaller carved recess at the centre where a door should have existed. Except there is no entrance, no tunnel, no chamber, only solid rock behind it. That single detail transformed the site into one of the strangest mysteries in South America. Why carve a doorway that leads nowhere? Nobody knows for certain. Local legends surrounding the site are ancient. According to stories passed down through generations, the doorway was connected to priests and gods from another world. One legend tells of an Incan priest named Aramumuru fleeing Spanish invaders while carrying a sacred golden disc. The priest supposedly reached the stone doorway and placed the disc into a small circular depression carved into the rock. Then something impossible happened. The doorway began glowing with blue light. The stone opened, and the priest disappeared forever into another world beyond the mountain. Whether the story is myth or memory, nobody truly knows, but the legend transformed the doorway into something far larger than archaeology alone: a portal, a gateway, a threshold between worlds. The atmosphere surrounding the site deepens the mystery enormously. Lake Titicaca itself already carried enormous spiritual importance for ancient Andean civilizations. The Inca believed the lake was sacred, the birthplace of gods and civilization itself. Ancient ruins, temples, and ceremonial sites surround the region. The high-altitude silence feels almost unreal. Cloud shadows move slowly across endless mountains, and standing before the giant doorway, the emotional effect feels strangely powerful. Because human beings instinctively recognize doors as symbols, a doorway implies passage, transition, movement from one place into another. But at Aramumuru, the passage leads nowhere visible, only stone. That contradiction unsettles the mind immediately. The carving itself appears surprisingly smooth in sections. Ancient workers shaped the sandstone carefully, creating clean edges and symmetrical design. Researchers believe the site may have served ceremonial or spiritual purposes connected to ancient Andean rituals, perhaps symbolic rather than functional. A sacred doorway representing spiritual transition rather than physical passage. Some archaeologists compare it to false doors found in other ancient cultures, where symbolic entrances connected the world of the living and the dead. But emotionally, the mystery still feels larger than explanation, especially at sunset. Shadows gather around the carved doorway while cold wind moves across the cliffs. The opening darkens against the stone wall until it almost appears real for brief moments, like something waiting behind it. Over time, stranger theories inevitably appeared. Some people believed the doorway was created by a lost civilization older than the Inca entirely. Others imagined hidden chambers still buried deep beneath the surrounding mountains. A few even claimed the site functioned as an interdimensional portal, used by ancient beings to travel between worlds. Theories connecting Aramumuru to extraterrestrials spread rapidly through documentaries and online mythology because of the doorway's impossible appearance. Most historians reject those ideas completely. Yet even mainstream archaeology admits the site remains unusual, especially because no definitive explanation survives for why ancient people carved such a large, symbolic doorway into isolated stone without any physical chamber behind it. And perhaps that uncertainty is exactly why the mystery survives. Human beings struggle accepting symbols without clear purpose. A giant doorway naturally creates expectation. The mind expects passage. But Aramumuru offers only silence. Perhaps that is what makes it feel so haunting. Not because it literally opens into another dimension, but because ancient people intentionally created a monument, representing transition into the unknown itself. A doorway not meant for the body, but for belief, for ritual, for mystery. Even today, visitors standing before the stone opening often describe the same strange feeling. The sensation that the doorway should open somehow, that something waits just beyond the rock despite logic insisting otherwise.